to Soul Rain. And as always, I've got some fascinating, incredible guest, but this one really is out of this galaxy, otherworldly, and I think it's going to be a different perspective than many of you have had. Now, we've had discussions about QHHT, we've had discussions about entity release, but there are some things that our guest today has that you have not heard of. And so, if you love those other realms, those deeper esoteric concepts, this is going to be the episode for you. Today, I've got the lovely Elizabeth Evans, otherwise known as Katesh. Thank you for joining us today, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me on.
I can't believe we waited this long.
Yeah, it's been a pretty intense couple of years. So yeah, time has gone past.
And so we met. I don't think we met during QHHT, but we crossed paths in SCHH.
Yeah, soul center healing hypnosis, which I really enjoyed. After that, I really went into it fully.
Yeah, you certainly did. And you've made some really incredible products that I love. You've dove, yeah, you've driven, you entered into making products for people so that they can do some of the work on their own. And that is part of what you do that I love so much. So I don't know if you want to touch base on some of those or where you'd like to start our conversation today, because I know we can go in any different direction, and you've been through a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think some of the ones that you're talking about are those the dowsing sort of kits with the with all of the pendulum boards on them. Yeah. So I did that as a way for people to take things into their own hands, like a little kit sort of package that they can really start to do a lot of this themselves. That's what I want to do. I want to teach people how to do things themselves. So I will be doing courses to teach people how to do this process themselves, to how to connect with their multidimensional selves, and also to do entity release on their own, like I do like, these spot clearings, because after doing SCHH, it was really amazing, because it gives you the basic tools that you need to do entity release. And then I found that it was important to do these clearings on myself, to continue doing those clearings, because you get so much stuff flung at you working in the spiritual space, which I'm sure you're well aware of.
Unfortunately, yes. And there have been things since that I've had to refrain from doing. So I no longer go to as many of the health, wellness, or psychic fairs. I no longer do as many individual learning things as I would have done in the spiritual community, because I've seen these wild experiences where someone just twists and all of a sudden they're acting very out of character. And I'm like, oh, it's not them.
It's not them. And when you do SCHH, you realize that, oh, it's not them. And you can have a bit of compassion for that, there are other sort of spiritual forces, let's just say, acting through them.
Absolutely. And so you have begun this practice. And so one of the things you have was the entity release in a box. And you made it really beautifully. It was very, very thorough in a way that is comprehensive, that anybody could dive in, either learn kinesiology or muscle testing, and actually discern, like, hey, what is happening with my energy today? Where am I being influenced?
And absolutely. And I loved creating that. Yeah.
One thing I've known about you is you're wildly creative. Your Facebook has been just so inspiring. You're constantly coming out with these really beautiful images of different galactic starseeds and talking about the Lyran Wars. How long has that been for you, or have you just kind of always been that way?
I've always been very, very creative since the time that I was really little. I've always been drawing pictures. I've always been doing art. the AI art is just like a new sort of thing, and like I do prefer to do traditional art. That's where I started out with, like, as a traditional artist. But the amount of beings that I discover through doing this work, like, there's just so many, and it would take me such a long time to do drawings for all of these different beings. So usually I get it out quickly like that. But for the cover of my book, I did do one of my own drawings, which is one of these sort of Lyran beings. And I drew that.
Tell us a little bit more about the book.
So this book has been quite a few years in the making. It started out, it's a book about Lyra and its quantum hypnosis explorations into the history of Lyra and what happened during the Lyran and Draconian Wars. So like a bit of Starseed type of history. So if you're familiar with Debbie Solaris, she goes into the Lyran Draconian Wars as well. She's an Akashic record reader, and a lot of people's souls at the beginning of their galactic journey in this galaxy have been through this experience. So I decided to I had some people, actually. It wasn't initially started by me. I had like people and friends and people who were interested on my YouTube who came to me and were like, oh, like we really want to do this.
Yeah.
And they were talking to me about, like, a friend that I had was talking to me about like a experience, a past life experience, a very, very vivid experience that he remembered about like a war between, like, I guess what he would call like these elf-like beings, like the human Lyrans, and this war in space. And he remembered this, and I was really intrigued by this. So I was like, well, like, why don't we look into it with the quantum hypnosis? And so, like, I put a notice out, I guess, on my channel ages and ages ago, and I was like, if anyone wants to do a free session to find out about this, if anyone's very deeply resonating with this, contact me and we can do this. So I did have people contact me from that because they had similar experiences of Lyra. And so they contacted me. There was a man who contacted me. He's Harrison, and he's in this book as well. And there were other people who contacted me. And then there were sessions that I did on myself, bringing forth information about Lyra too. So it's not just like the clients, it's like me as well, because I always did like these sessions, swap sessions on myself as well, to keep myself clean and clear, doing the soul center healing hypnosis. That's been part of what I do, just to maintain this energetic sovereignty and to make sure that I'm working through all of my shadow work. So there's, sessions from me, there's sessions from the clients, and it's really beautiful. And it's like a very, very detailed, I guess, historical overview, or if you could call it that, on what happened during that. And then, like, actually Harrison in the book as well, like, he had this fear of fire and he didn't know where it was from. And when we went into it, he discovered that it was from his trauma in the Lyran Wars, and that was like sort of part of his multidimensional self that was bleeding into his current lifetime, making him afraid of fires. And so that was really interesting to see where that was from.
A lot of those carry over. And actually, thinking about it, I was one of your sessions, and I'm trying to recall exactly what all it was, because it's been some time now. But I think I was working on weight loss, and part of it had come up that I was a Lyran, and I had been on one of the other places, though, like I had already fled the Dracos, and we discovered that there was unprocessed grief. Yeah. And then you turned and made this incredible session clip and put it on YouTube with the AI art, and it was just really compelling and cool.
Yeah. So I did that as well, and there is going to be like a sequel to this book, which like will have like the other sessions explored in there. So this is only like one half. There's going to be other ones,
So,
but
one
yeah.
thing that my audience won't have known about you is you are deeply, deeply clairvoyant among other abilities, but also you channel quite a bit. Did you
Mm.
begin with that, or did you start with the hypnosis end? Like, where did you come into the field from?
I actually started from the hypnosis end. So I
Oh,
entered
okay.
into, like, I had my first QHHT session coming out of a really, really difficult depression. And it was so difficult that I was just lying in my bed for like, years. Like my muscles like were just wasting away and I was so depressed. And then I found Dolores Cannon. Like I think my spirit guides just like showed me this other sort of world. And I found her and I found like other books to do with quantum healing hypnosis. And I was just like so taken by this that I decided to have my own session. So I paid like almost like $400 and that was like it was really, really worth it. So if anyone's like, on the fence about like, oh, these sessions cost so much, it's because there's so much
Yeah.
effort put into them. And afterwards, I was really, really glad because the depression just completely like it just started lifting from me. Like I had like a purpose again. And I wasn't in bed all day long playing video games, just wasting my life away. It was just like I got like a kick up the butt. But actually in that first session, it was just like my higher self came through and like,
Mm.
that was the first time I'd ever heard my higher self come through. And it like touched me so deeply that like, my depression just wasn't there the way it was before, like hearing my higher self's voice coming through my mouth
Yeah.
and like this channeling this what I've like known to be like my higher self being like an angelic being. It just completely like broke down that sort of wall and gave me like this great sense of purpose that I just didn't have before.
And so, what was your next step after that?
Well, I was so happy from having had this happen that I was like, well, I think everybody needs to experience it as well, even when they're going through that dark night of the soul, that like I could help others to achieve that as well. Like maybe I could help others with like lifting their depression or through their dark night of the soul. So I learned BQH at the time, so Beyond Quantum Healing, and then I learned QHHT and I became a level 2 practitioner. And I kind of started with BQH because I didn't have a in-person place to practice the quantum healing hypnosis because you have to do it in person, and I didn't really have that. A lot of people don't really have that sometimes, so I stuck to online to begin with. And then later on, I did, in-person sessions, but I've kind of like, switched to online again just because it's easier and because I don't have the room to do in-person sessions. I would love to, but yeah, it's just how it is.
I've noticed a difference between the people who do take the Beyond Quantum Healing versus the ones that don't and just step out with QHHT. And you can immediately tell there's a different level of quality. And I'm sure it's the same when someone's done clinical or some other form of hypnosis first before QHHT. But you can just tell when people have more tools in the toolbox, they're a little more comfortable navigating everything. The sessions just go so much more smoothly. So it's always nice to hear that that someone's put that
Yeah.
work in and gotten that really good foundation first. And
Mm.
so, at what point did you actually study with Debbie Solaris, or did you do other Akashic records and opening things in terms of channeling before that?
Oh, I didn't study with Debbie Solaris. I was actually studying
Okay.
with doing the galactic astrology, I just really like Debbie's sort of material. I was actually taught how to access the record through doing this quantum hypnosis work and having the sessions on myself and my guides. Like I had like a very close connection with my spirit guides, and then I read Linda Howe's books on it, and then they just taught me, okay, this is how you can do it. And then I was like, okay. And then I went and did it with them. So it was like a learning process of how I learned how to access the records and do, you know, essentially like the same thing that other Akashic record readers are doing.
Except you're very, very accurate in your readings. And so it's like you had full on spiritual mentorship by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I had mentorship with my angelic guides, and they sort of took me through it. And so when I'm doing like readings on others as well, and like through, I'm actually studying the galactic astrology, and I'm finishing that up really soon and getting my certification. But I through galactic astrology, I actually combine Akashic records as well in some of the readings. Like in the more in-depth readings, I go into both, not only the astrology, but the Akashic records. So it's some of these I very much do both. Like they my guides not hold my hand, but like they're there in case like, you know, anything pops up or I need to learn anything new. Then they come in and then they're like, okay, well, you know, we're going to teach you now how to clear the records. We're going to teach you how to do this. We're going to teach you how to do that. We're going to teach you how to close portals in the records so that you don't have like open portals from like, you know, lifetimes where like the being or the, you know, the person had a lot of stuff to do with AI or stuff to do with black magic. We're just going to close that portal, and then they taught me how to do that. So there's various things that they're still teaching me.
Yeah. I've always told my students that when I'm teaching Akashic Records, it is the only modality that will show you how to use it. And if you make a mistake, lovingly, they're probably going to laugh at you, but then they're going to explain it. But, you know, don't be too surprised if you encounter a little bit of snark in your Akashic Records, especially if, you know, that's a form of humor that you like. My guys are super snarky. And I remember this one time specifically, and I always tell my students, do as I say, not as I do, because I tend to be really forgetful and I'm not great with ritual when it comes to Akashic records. And so this thing that I was doing that I wasn't realizing was I was being very expedient about dropping into the records, getting insights, and then not even actually practicing gratitude or saying thank you and just zoom and wait right back out. And then I noticed over a couple of days, all of a sudden I started getting really, really tired and I didn't feel super present. And so I went to my records and I'm like, what is happening with me? They're like, oh, you've got soul sickness. And I'm like, what? What is that? And, you know, they politely called me out and said, well, hey, you get what you want and then you go. And then you don't ground and bring your whole essence back into your body. So you're learning the hard way. And it's like, oh, sorry, my bad. Have you had experiences like that in your learning as well?
I've had experiences where like it's like almost like I send a small aspect of myself up. So it's not the whole me going up there. It's like I've sort of taught myself how to take like a dragon aspect of myself. The dragon aspect goes up, I stay down here. The dragon aspect reads the records on my behalf, and then yeah, the dragon aspect incorporates back into my body. So it's like it's a part of me, and it's like using the parts of you. But it's I started using the dragon aspect when I noticed that that energy felt a lot more protective. That energy felt very stable and protective for me. And
is the experience still the same? Is it still highly clairvoyant, very empathic? Like, are all of your channels of communication open, or is it a little bit different?
it's still the same, but it's like a part of you, but it's not like the human part. So it's I don't know if it can access things from a higher perspective, even. Like I had early mistakes happen when I accessed the lower levels of the Akashic records. And then my angelic guides explained to me it's just like, well, there's some distortions in the lower levels. So the more like higher level you go up, like the angelic sort of levels of this and the, you know, the golden angelic dragon sort of realms of this, which I try and access. I try and access it from the light and the angelic realms rather than the lower sort of galactic realms, because I did have that to begin with. I came across information and I had a client say, oh, you know, everything resonates except this information about the great ETs. And then I was like, that's really interesting. So I went into it again. And then I found out, and then they sort of told me, oh, okay, this is because that they've been fudging the lower aspects of the Akashic field because they don't want us to know what they're doing, especially with soul contracts. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I let her know, and I let her know, yeah, it was false, that I was, you know, being given false information because I was operating from like down here where they could, you know, fudge around with things, not from up here.
That does make a huge difference. Yeah.
Mm.
And so, at what point did you go into the galactic astrology? That one I'm not familiar with at all. So I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started having beings, I guess, like it just sort of happened naturally again. It just came into my life, I guess. And then I had a client tell me about galactic astrology, and then my ears sort of pricked up, and I was like, oh, what's that? And I wanted to find out. And then I had like beings from other star systems, like sort of arrive in some of the sessions, and like, you know, benevolent beings, and they would say like, oh, we're from Speaker. And I was like, what's that? I'd never heard of that in the Starseeds sort of
Yeah.
guides before. So in the ones that I was familiar with back then. So I actually looked it up and then started looking into different stars and different star systems. And then the galactic astrology, when I started doing it, it was like, it was fantastic because it placed it in a way that was calculated, like it satisfied that part of my mind, because it is based on your birth calculation and all of the stars connected to you. So there's all of these different names of stars, and they're connected to different aspects within your birth chart. So, you know, you could have like Orion in like, you know, the money part of your birth chart, and that would tell me a lot about you and about the lifetimes that you have.
Yeah.
And then you could have like maybe Lyra, and that's connected to the family part of your chart as well. And that would tell me a lot about you as well, and where you come from and where your soul family comes from. So it's like almost like a map, you know, based on, you know, the calculations of the planets and the stars, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah. I know a fellow hypnotist who was also an astrologer, and she could actually tell you about your past lives through astrology. And I thought that was fascinating. Do you have an element of that, but within the galactic?
Yeah, yeah. So I do have an element of that, but with the galactic, when I do, as I've been practicing this, and I'm just getting certified, you know, going to be certified soon. There has been like this aspect of being able to look at somebody's chart and understanding where all of their where some of these experiences in their life are coming from, through looking at the different star systems that are connected to like different aspects, like their core personality, their emotions. There's all of these different planets, and you know, some of them are conjunct, some of them are square, And I won't go into it too much because it's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Is massive, and of
I
course
can
I'll still
only,
be learning even after
yeah.
I'm certified, and still be, you know, getting like even better even long after I'm certified. I'll be continuing on with my learning regarding that because there's so much to learn.
Astrology is one of those things that is just not in my skill set this lifetime. It seems like
Oh,
every time
it's
I try, I have an incredible headache and I just can't even. So, galactic astrology, that is not going to be within the realms of my abilities, but I can imagine it gets really in depth and very, very fast. I did do the Debbie Solaris Galactic Akashic Records, and so
mm,
within that, there is a portion where she talks about the various like health and qualities of each galactic race, and how if someone has a certain past life or two with, say, the Lyrans, then they're more likely to have certain challenges in terms of health. What they're going to need for diet is going to be different. The exercise that their body needs to do. Do you have an element of that in there as well?
yeah. So sometimes, like, it depends. I've noticed through doing a lot of these sessions that sometimes, like, it kind of depends, like, what aspect of the multidimensional self is popping in. So you may have the like a Lyran starseed, and you may identify as that. But then when you look into your soul history, you're like a combination of all of these different things. You're like a soup, a galactic soup, really. And the chunks are just floating around in there. And you've got bits and pieces coming from
Yeah.
everywhere that are influencing you right now, making, you know, like the being that is you, you know, in that subconscious state, like, you know, popping in. That's what I talk about, the portals, like those past life, or, you know, I wouldn't even call them past lives because they're happening simultaneously, right? They're like bits of you that are popping in, like little chunks of soup floating around in a bowl, making up who you are, and you don't know what the soup is. You're diving into the soup and it looks like this big soup and you're not quite sure what it is. And yeah, that's how I sort of view it, as like, you know, discovering what parts, because like that there's like Lyran aspects that may resonate strongly with some people, but some people may have Lyran lifetimes and may not resonate with those traits at all, but may resonate more with like other traits, but it's, you know, from elsewhere. So they've got little bits and
Yeah.
pieces from all over the place. So I don't necessarily see any like patterns with who's a Lyran starseed and not. I see more
Mhm.
patterns with like sort of traumas, collective traumas that that group of souls has been through. For example, with Harrison and his fear of fire. And often some other patterns that I notice is with Lyran starseeds is like issues around resources because they've had their home taken away from them so many times, so that they can have issues with resources and money through that as well. And the resources, you know, aspect in other star systems can appear differently. So it's really complex. Sorry.
Yeah. And I think some are better at remembering how to manifest than others. That
Mm,
has not been within my ability. I've had to like relearn. I'm still fumbling with it. It's a lifelong practice over here. So yeah, I would imagine it can vary vastly. And of course, not all of the refugees went to the same place. I know my soul
they
went
all
over
went
to
to different
Sirius.
places.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they scattered. So of course they're going to take on different features and different cultures and other galactic elements because that came into their influence. So it's just wild. But I've always adored the precision that you have and then the confidence that you have as you're finding these places, that a lot of them, I don't even know if Debbie has heard of all of the ones that you've found. I think she would do well to connect with you and hear about some of them
Mm,
because you found a lot.
yeah. Well, the thing with that is too is that like certain people tap into certain collectives.
Yeah.
So like I tap into some of the collectives that I've personally had lifetimes in. And then some people tap into other collectives that are part of those same constellations or star systems. And the thing is that nobody is wrong, because if you actually look into astronomy, the actual scientific information, you discover that in some of these star systems there are multiple stars. There's not just one. It's like binary stars. So you may think that you're looking at one star. Actually, you're looking at three stars because it has two other binary companions. So, like, it's just endless in terms of that. And I've discovered multiple different beings, for example, just residing around Sirius. Like, 3 different types of beings easily, because Sirius is such a large star and it has like a large stellar system with many planets. And it also has binary companions, Sirius B and Sirius C, which is not quite confirmed, but I think Debbie talks about that as well.
Yeah, she does.
Mm.
And so from there, how did you end up being called to doing spirit releasement or entity release?
Well, I guess since the time that I was little, I always saw these dark entities. I've always been able to see them. And so it just sort of came naturally. Like when I was doing the quantum healing hypnosis training, they don't like to talk about that. But I remembered seeing these things growing up. Like I saw them with my own eyes. I knew that they weren't a part of me. I knew that they were something external to me because I could communicate with them like telepathically, and they were something that was outside of me. And just walking around my bedroom. So this was something that I always knew, and this was something that I guess like it was just it came naturally as well as all this other stuff. It just came naturally because I'd had many experiences coming out of body spontaneously as well to do missions or tasks and then come back to my body and like have this awareness that the angels and I were doing things on the astral realm involving the takedown of various dark entities. So that was quite like that was throughout my life, and it was quite difficult to tell people about it. And so when I ended up doing, spiritual modalities, which they sort of deny that exists, that felt kind of, really difficult because I'd had that lived experience, and I was wondering like, who else has had this lived experience? And I was looking around for that. And then I found Soul Center Healing Hypnosis, and Laura had had that lived experience as well.
Yeah. And Laura's been a previous guest on this podcast, so we've talked about spirit releasement a little bit more in depth. Would you say, or would you have identified as a medium earlier on in life?
Probably when I was a child, like I always had that, and I didn't really identify it as anything. I just knew that I could see these things, I could communicate with these things, and I also knew that I probably should be quiet about it, that the adults around me wouldn't recognize this. They would think that it was silly. I would pinch myself all the time when I could see these things and when they could communicate with me, because I was, worried like, if I was dreaming or not, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
And it was really, really confusing, but it's all made sense now. Like it was very, very confusing growing up.
Yeah. So you were seeing the lower vibrational elements, but were you also seeing loved ones in spirit?
Sometimes I saw light beings and angelic beings, and because I was a child, they freaked me out too. I was
Yes.
confused.
Well, they can be
I was
really
so
intimidating
confused.
in energy when you're not familiar with it. Like it's just a huge presence, and you can sense that as being a little kid, and you're like, whoa, there's something about that person that I don't know. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I was just really like growing up was really, really with this, like all of my psychic senses on was really, really confusing. And like I did have like experiences where like I saw like angels and high dimensional beings, and that sort of happened later on in my life as well. Like the nicer beings, like, you know, came into
Yeah.
my life like later on. I'm sure that they were there from the beginning because my grandparents, I lived in my grandparents' place and they lived in a incredibly haunted house. And
Mm.
so I'm sure that when I stayed in like particular rooms that I had angelic protection, like I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I noticed the ones that were trying to scare me the most as a kid,
Yeah.
of course, and remembered that.
You know, it's fascinating because that was my experience as well. Before anything else, I grew up with mediumship ability. And I
Mm,
wonder if when we're like that, when we grow up, if maybe we're afforded extra protections because I don't recall anything ever attempting to attach to me. Did
mm.
you?
No, I don't remember like anything ever
Yeah.
attaching to me when I was really little. I remember it when I was 8 years old and so I was a bit older and we lived in a new house. We lived in New Zealand in this haunted town, and like the Maori people didn't really like to go there because, you know, they were like, okay, you know, bad spirits live there. So there was all of these sort of really haunted houses in this area.
Yeah.
And I was in a house that was haunted, and the babysitter didn't want to be there. She tried to
Yeah.
be there one time, and she said, "I'm not coming back." Because our house was so it had a really big dark entity living in it,
Mm.
and I knew where it was living. I was aware of where it was living. My parents were actually knew that something was in the house because it was opening doors. It was
Yeah.
like, you know, and the doorknob handles were opening as well. And like one night I saw it, and that was the night that it attached to me. So it was like this demonic leather face looking thing that looked like a dementor, and it popped up this close to me, and I was so scared that I couldn't even scream. And that's when, like, when I was in that high state of fear, that's when I actually felt it attach onto me. And from then on, I had problems with bedwetting. I had so many
Oh.
issues as a child.
Mhm.
And we moved back to Australia from New Zealand. And then my mom was like, "Well, what's wrong with my kid?" So she went to a kinesiologist, and the
Oh.
kinesiologist, you know, muscle tested me, and he said, like, "Oh, there's something here that I don't know."
Yeah.
So he went to look in his book, and it said that I had a spirit attachment to me. And he
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, I don't believe in this, so I can't do anything for you guys. Sorry."
Ah.
So he just sent us home, and nothing
Wow.
really happened, but at least my mom knew that it was a spirit attachment. And I
Yeah.
sort of, like looking back on it, like I definitely knew that it was a spirit attachment because I was different after that thing
Yeah.
happened to me and after it attached to me. And
How old
so
were you
then,
when that happened?
so I was about like 8 to 9. So I had a really
Uh,
big spirit attachment.
so I guess my
And
theory is wrong. Maybe we're not afforded, but I guess I must have just been very, very lucky. Because
mm,
I think back and I didn't have anything attached when I was a child. So I really
mm,
must have just been lucky. Wow.
I think it was important for me to have that experience so that I would be able
Yeah.
to learn how to do this now. That's what I sort of view this as. So I had a spirit attachment, and then we did like a little ceremony with a candle because nobody had like taught my mom. Had the kinesiologist wasn't much help uh, apart from just telling us what it was. So she had to do the spirit releasement sort of ceremony. It was just something that she made up. and it worked and it left. And so
Yeah.
I wasn't bedwetting after that at all. I completely changed and was far more confident and not like so like anxious. Like I was
Yeah.
yeah, really, really anxious. So I think that was important learning for everyone.
It's really a shame that was like a missed opportunity for the kinesiologist to be like, oh, here's, a new field of study. But instead,
Mm,
they kiboshed it, and it was probably meant for them to explore and to expand their horizons.
yeah.
What a shame. Oh,
Yeah, it is a
it
shame.
pains
And
me.
there
Yeah.
are healers that do that though. I've noticed they're like, oh, I don't believe in this, so I'm just not going to bother with it. You go and deal with your spirit attachment.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, you definitely had that kind of imprint to look back on and to come and explore later on in life. Yeah.
Mm, absolutely. And I like after that happened, like I had like other things happen in my life as a kid that like I was just becoming more and more sensitive, and
Yeah.
like our house was under intersecting ley lines as well, so there were portals with stuff popping up everywhere, and so that was more early experience that I had
Yeah.
with that and seeing all of that and experiencing all of that. So it never really
Yeah.
stopped until I went into my 20s. And then, I didn't want to like I sort of turned my skills down a little bit
Yeah.
to fit in or whatever. And then they came back. They didn't go away.
Yeah. Did you find that the more you suppressed, like the more it was just in your face events happening to get you to kind of reconcile that there's this whole other part of yourself, this whole other part of life that we can't just turn off?
Yeah, no, it was like it was,
Yeah.
screaming at me to look at it, and I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't
Yeah.
just do a 9 to 5 job and ignore all of this. It was just always in my face my whole life. Like it was always coming
Yeah.
back, always coming back.
That's how I felt about it as well. And I actually tried to run away from it in my 20s. Most of my 20s,
Mm,
I was spent trying to run away from it. And that's when I developed like social anxiety. And I think it was
mm,
because it was this thing in my shadow, my abilities that I was trying to like suppress. And I was trying to
mm,
explain to students when I was teaching mediumship, it's like holding a beach ball underwater. Unfortunately,
mm,
as the waves are passing, at some point it's going to get too strong and it's just going to pop right up. And so the more you're holding this thing down, the more it's going to be inclined to come up. And it's not until we just face it, we become present with it, we learn some skills of navigation and really learn our abilities and our edges that then, okay, it's not so in our face all the time.
mm.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that was a huge phase of like anxiety in my life. Did you have that kind of happen as well when you were trying to turn it off and just be normal? No.
Yeah, like I had moments where I would go to university to, I wanted to become an English teacher in Japan. I didn't really want to to do this. Well,
Yeah.
there was that soul part of me that wanted to do this, but like the ego self was like, no, I want to
No.
teach English in Japan. I want to live in Japan. And so I went to university to do that. And I had like a friend with me, and then like I would see like a spirit being wander into the lecture hall. And I would just be in the lecture hall like, hmm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and one time like I saw it happen again, and then I was like to my friend, I was like, "Oh, I saw like a ghost come in there." And she looked at me like, "Oh my God, Elizabeth, like what is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And and I was just like, "Oh crap, I shouldn't have said that."
Did it have consciousness or was it kind of just behaving on a loop?
It looked like it was just like an earthbound spirit or something that was just coming into the lecture hall to have like a look at what we were doing.
just wanted the university experience.
Yeah.
Without having to pay tuition. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, it looks like that, honestly. Like I've seen them at bus stops before. I've seen them in lecture halls. They go to the mall, they're at the bus stop, they're just, not realizing that they're dead. Or maybe they are.
Everywhere but the graveyard. They are never in the
Yeah,
goddamn
yeah,
graveyard. But if you
everywhere
go to the
but,
hospital,
going
it'll be
back to the
full.
other side.
It's wild. And so now you've had the experience, you went through spirit releasement, entity release, and how did that journey go for you?
So I did when I did the soul center healing hypnosis, I didn't do the spirit releasement. I just did soul center healing hypnosis.
It is spirit releasement. I keep referring to it as spirit releasement because that's how I learned it when I took my clinical. It's the same thing. It's my brain having cognitive dissonance that you're hearing
with hypnosis. Sorry about that. I'm just I'm autistic, so I'm like super into the terms. But when I did that,
can't handle the two terms, so it's switching back and forth.
So when I learned how to do that, that was amazing, and that was really like confirming like a lot of the stuff that I'd experienced all my life, and a lot of the stuff that my family had experienced. And then I was able to help myself first and foremost, because my channeling, my abilities it wasn't clarity. Like it was not fully clear and in alignment, because I had entities there. And then I realized this and I was like, oh, okay, that is why some information just feels off. So some of my earlier like channelings, like I actually look back on it now and I'm like, okay, well, that was from a time and a place where I had entities, and now it's like different. So I actually don't resonate so much with it anymore, which is really interesting. But then it was also like helping myself, but then helping others with this spirit releasement as well, helping them to like maintain this clarity in their energetic body, because it feels like completely different. You can have like less headaches, less like you can see your dreams. Like there's all of these strange sort of side effects, not side effects, but like benefits to having an entity release, being so clear in your energetic body. Sometimes even you can lose weight, or you can have like physical issues just clear up from not having the entities anymore. So I've seen that so many times when clients have had sessions and they come back and then they're like, oh my God, like, I don't have headaches. Like, my body feels a lot better. Like, and my energetic body feels so much nicer, and like, and they're always like amazed how much stuff is on them. They're so amazed at how much stuff that was, pulled off of them. And they're like, wow, like I receive a lot of really amazing feedback from the soul center healing hypnosis sessions, because the transformation is so extreme for people to not have those entities there anymore, and suddenly they're connected to their true authentic psychic gifts without anything in the way.
Did you find it kind of also gave you like a better sense of discernment of when a channeling was like super clear versus not? So can you hear it now when other people channel? Are you able like to just feel and to notice?
Absolutely. So when you have like the entities taken off, it's like you can notice when somebody else is infiltrated by darker energies without necessarily realizing. So you can decide, you can make a very calculated decision to like who to tune into and who to like attune your frequency to. Like it may not necessarily be who you were aligning with before. For example, like I don't listen to certain channelers anymore, because I have my higher self come in and was like, oh, this the being that's coming in isn't who you think it is. And I was like, oh wow. And then I looked at it differently after that, and then I spotted the red flags and inconsistencies in what they were saying, and it made like discernment so much easier for me. And especially in these times that we're in, with all of this information on the internet, like all of this spiritual information is just pumped out constantly, and like you can really sort through the crap, if that makes sense, and sort like, okay, well, I'm not going to like attach onto any of this. I'm not going to like, you know, like absorb any of that information. Like you can really sort through the information that truly resonates with a high frequency. And that has been amazing for me to be able to develop that discernment.
I would imagine so, because for me, it's very clear cognizant. It's just a knowing. And so it's less conscious, I find. And I just notice like, something about that's not for me. And I just move on. But it never lands at the point where it's like, oh no, there's, interference, or like it doesn't land for me in that way. I wish it did. It would be nice. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe ignorance is bliss, and I should be careful what I ask for. It's hard to say with some of this stuff. And so during your spirit releasement work, that's when you actually started to discover some new things, some different things. Do you want to touch on those?
Yeah, so at the end of, like after I did so many different clients, I had like clients with bigger and bigger entities coming to me, and more, like I had more and more, I guess, showdowns with like really, really dark entities, like ones that I don't think Laura necessarily, even the teacher, dealt with these sort of ones. And so I was so surprised, because these were like really like huge ones, and they just kept coming and coming and coming.
Are you encountering like archons?
I was, at one point,
Yeah.
I was encountering like beings that I would call just like, I guess, fallen angelic type of beings. So really dark beings that were like controlling a lot of other smaller entities. Like, they were kind of like further up at the top of the pyramid, let's just say, and they were really unhappy about my work. They were just, I had like sessions with other practitioners, and we would have swap sessions. And there was this one time where we had a swap session that something like I was facilitating a session on her, and she was practicing, and something popped up in the corner of the room. There was this darkness that was in the corner of the room, and it was looking at me through the camera. And I was like, Jessie, I think we're just gonna have to stop. Like I was doing the induction, and I'm just like, I think we're just gonna have to stop and clear the room, because there's something that's looking at me through the camera. And then she was like, yeah, I can feel something that's behind me. And I'm like, no, we're just going to clear the room. And there was this thing, and it was like, you have no idea what you're doing. So angry at us for doing soul-centered healing hypnosis. And like directing all of this malice at me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? And then there was just like, it was one of those ones, and we had to like, bring in like a really big, team to clear some of this. And then after that, I had other things happen. Like and this isn't to scare anyone. I don't think that everybody's journey is going to be like this. I think it was just mine, because of what I do and because of the soul experience that I've chosen to have. that I had like things pop up in my house, and like I was just like, what is going on? And they were like coming through like my sister at the time, and then I was seeing like Slenderman type of figures in my lounge room, and I'm like, oh no 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 no, where are these coming from?
Yeah.
And then I would clear it, and then another one came, and I'm like, they're coming through somewhere, they're coming through a portal. I better plug up the hole. And so I was like contacting my friend, like, we need to have a session. There's like, a portal, there's a hole in my house. The Slendermans are coming through the hole.
Yeah.
We got to plug up the hole.
Yeah.
So, it just turned into
It can
something
get
that was a little
wild.
bit crazy at the time.
Yeah.
But after through this, I dealt through all of this learning experience, I gained so many tools for how to deal with really crazy situations energetically.
So that's what I'm
And so
curious
I've
about.
incorporated that.
Yeah. How has that changed your protocol or the dynamic or the way that you work with people now?
So I do different things now, and I align with like a lot, let's just say like these really high vibrational aspects of the angelic realm. And the dragon energies as well have been like a part of that. The seraphim, the cherubim, angelic powers and principalities. Like I'm just bringing all the big teams in, basically. Bringing my soul family in, bringing the angelic creator beings into the sessions as well. And like the angels love to work with each other. And when they work with each other in these really, really big teams, we can clear so much more than before as well. Yeah. And we also, like through all of this, hullabaloo happening in my house and in other people's houses and in the forests around here, I learned how to do land clearings as well, and closing portals on the land, closing dark portals, and what that looks like. So I learned like a bunch of other skills that beforehand, I didn't really have access to. But it was through, all of this crazy stuff that happened during, my soul center healing hypnosis journey that I was able to do that.
Which is wild when you think about it, because, I mean, for most people, the time on that study is usually just a few months to maybe about a year. How long was it for you in terms of like progression?
It was a few months of practice sessions. And then after the practice sessions, then the real fun began. When I was actually a practitioner certified, that's when the real fun began. That's when I began, learning all of these things that I had no idea about before, and being able to clear bigger and bigger things.
Yeah. At what point did the divine blueprint start to take shape?
That was when I had so much, I guess, interference because of what I was doing and what I was doing with other practitioners, that we just found that we were getting like new entities constantly. And even though we were like emotionally regulating ourselves, we were healing ourselves, we were healing our own trauma, we still had interference.
Yeah.
We still have interference because of what we did. We were being, targeted essentially. So I developed this, like, after I had a massive sort of, psychic attack happen, which my face like sort of blew up and, got like this massive rash.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I couldn't even open my eyes. I went to the beauty salon, and it just turned out, not so great. But, I recovered after that, and it was all good. But after that, I had my higher self drop in and was like, it's time for you to learn a new way of protecting your energetic body.
Yeah.
That goes, like even beyond. So it was like something that I knew innately deep within as well. Like it was something that the angelic beings showed me how to do as well.
Yeah.
To we have like geometry, sacred geometry that makes up our energy body.
Yeah.
And when we're born on Earth, that is like sort of wide open, I guess, because of the parasitic influences wish us to be easily able and easily open for them. So our energetic body,
Yeah.
the geometry in it is not what it should be. Let's just say it's not
Are you
fully
are
in
you
alignment.
are you meaning people don't have their Merkaba activated or something beyond that?
It's it's a difficult concept to explain because underneath our energy bodies, like and underneath the structure of everything in this universe, there is geometry. There is sacred geometry that makes up the structure. It's
Yeah.
like divine coding. It's like the coding. So, say for example, you wish to, like, you're a dark entity and you wish to be able to have more access to humanity. You're going to change the coding in their energy body so that you can have more access to them.
Yeah.
So, it's like being a computer programmer and going into the coding, just correcting like a few things here and there, and then the your energetic field, your energetic blueprint is strengthened. It's very subtle, and it's like, changing code here and there to, just make it so that your energetic body protects itself a lot more.
It's almost like you're a medical intuitive, but more on the external parts of the field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, internal, but like it's like seeing through the matrix and seeing all the different code.
Yeah.
It's like it's this divine sort of code that the angelic beings sort of showed me. And it's made up of this geometry, and then the light flows through the geometry, like the God light flows through this geometry, and it's like the power to the code.
Yeah.
So it's going into like the simulation. The universe is almost like a divine simulation, and you're in the back in the back end, trying to figure out how to correct the code.
Yeah. How does somebody know if they've got that divine blueprint kind of imbalance or that the code isn't quite right? What kind of things will show up to let them know that they need to explore this?
Mm. Well, everybody who has been born on this earth has had that like imbalances in their divine code, but after a certain time point, the angels have sort of told me that a lot of the new children being born on this earth at this time, they're going to have that code already instilled within them. So it's going to be like a hundredth monkey effect. And when all of those children come out, and it's going to have this ripple effect of like changing all of our code back to the original code as well. So I sort of went in there and like fixed up my coding, and I did it for other practitioners who were having that constant targeting on them, and then they sort of developed this extra layer of protection around their auric fields that were yeah, and so they don't have any new entities attached onto them anymore. They can still have AI and implants, but they do not have any new entities that are able to attach to them anymore. And it's just because of this coding. It's just been shifted a little bit so that their energy fields are no longer open, or no
Yeah.
longer open to, it's like a firewall. Okay, that's how I can describe it. It's like this
Yeah.
divine coding that's like a firewall that nothing like that can't pass through. So yeah, it's working on a different sort of level, and I probably am not describing it very well because it is
I think you
such
are.
a
I think
it's
you're.
a really it's an
Yeah.
unusual concept, but it's like, looking at the structures of the matrix.
it's an unusual concept, but I can definitely understand it. And as you're speaking about it, I'm highly clairvoyant, so I get like little images and flashes of things. I think it'll translate well for the mundane, usual person who happens across this podcast episode. And if not, you do have an incredible YouTube presence. You've got a wonderful channel with so much information. And that's always going to be an option. I'll try to include that in the show notes as well so that people can find you a little more easily and start to understand these concepts, especially if they're working in the same realms of hypnotherapy and wanting to integrate in more of that higher vibrational influence.
Yeah. So through the divine blueprint work that I do incorporate that part into the hypnosis. So it is like a recoding of the energetic body. So I've been able to do that for a few people, but it's interesting, like not everybody, and I've taught like one other practitioner, Marie from the Awake Revolution, and she's, she recognizes this in her soul as well. She works with the Arcturians and the angelic realm, and so she recognizes this as well. And I really trust her with that information because, she's like part of, I'm pretty sure we're part of the same sort of soul family. So I know that she's going to take that information and then do a lot of good work with it as well. But it's interesting, both of us have recognized that sometimes when we do this for people, that not everybody can hold like these new codes in the body, like they need to work up.
That makes sense.
Having them.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, anytime someone's taking on a new higher vibration, if they don't live a life that's going to energetically sustain that, they're not going to be able to hold it.
So we've been able to do it to like a small amount of people and help them, especially the ones who have like a soul mission, and the ones who are, they'll know who they are. Basically, they have a specific soul mission, and they've come in for this task, and they need that firewall protection around their energetic body. And they'll always be the ones that, I know intuitively, like this person needs that coding in their energetic field because they're having like they're doing a big mission. They're helping a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they need that extra layer.
Yeah. And so maybe it's not just for the average Joe, but it's more for those who've got those soul contracts that are going to be doing this work. We've got one of them in the chat right now. Matt Schmidt just popped in and left you some hearts. He's another one who's
thank you, Matt.
QHHT, SCHH, that whole soul tree family doing past life regression. Yeah. Do you have a sense of anything new that wants to come through? Or what might be next?
Yeah, so what I'm doing next as well is like I've already bought the platform on Thrivecart to do courses for people to teach some of the galactic stuff of what I know, and to also have like some pre-recorded galactic explorations for people so that they can have so that they can experience their own lifetimes as well, and they don't necessarily need to have a session unless they really, really want a one-on-one session. Like it can be like a series of different experiences that they have. But I also wanted to teach like the galactic information about what I know about the Akashic records as well, because I believe that is, that's the next part of what I want to do, and then release the next book that I have, which is about Orion.
That'll be exciting. Before you go into the Orion book, you've also got your other book that we haven't talked about yet. Did you want to explore that a little bit?
The Dawn of Lyra book?
No, I want to say the workbook.
That
one I don't have. So, the Dawn of Lyra I did get.
Yeah. This is just a fun little thing. This is a fun little thing that's like a a visionary meditation journal. So it's more of like a journaling. If you're a galactic lover, if you're a starseed lover, this is just really, really fun for you. It's got coloring pages. It's just fun. I just liked it because it's really fun, and you can do meditations, and you can draw the beings. And I've sometimes I do like these little explorations where I've gone into some of my galactic past lives and I've drawn the beings, and it's like just a beautiful way of exploring some of these lifetimes of your own, if you have that ability to be able to explore some of these in meditation, which you can do. You can set that intention and then explore them in meditation. And this is like almost like a dream journal, but for your meditations. It's got like a goals tracker there. It's got like a oracle card, sort of like it's a really fun galactic book. Let me see. There's some coloring pages too.
I'm not sure if it's just my video, but I actually can't see you, and it is the weirdest thing happening, and I'll show you just what it looks like.
Okay.
Are you able to see that?
I can see.
We've got like camera interference here.
That is really, really weird. Because I can see myself on my end. I don't know what that's about. My camera's on.
When I upload this later, it'll probably be fine on all of the other platforms, but just the ones that are showing it live are going to have this weird visual distortion.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but oh my goodness, do you find that when you're doing like the spirit releasement or the entity releasement sessions that you're having issues with recording?
Sometimes, but I've been very stringent at the beginning of the session to ask the angels to please protect the do a clearing on the equipment, which I should have done beforehand. To now, ask the angels to clear the equipment and to clear all of the what we're using. So I usually do that before a session.
I've had the craziest experiences where everything looks like it's going fine. Everything looks like it's going along. I get to the end, I stop the recording, and then it gives an error, and it's like, you've got to be kidding me. I can't with this. It's too much. The virtual ones aren't an issue. It's the in-person ones where my machinery is getting like thrown off. It's just nuts.
That's really interesting.
No, it's really annoying is what it is.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean though, because there's sometimes there's so much energy in the room that you can see all of the beings. Like I've had when I was doing the quantum healing hypnosis sessions in person, and because of course, being clairvoyant, it was like when I was in training, there was beings popping into the room and I could see them, and I learned very early on not to say things like, oh, there's like an alien above your head, can you talk about it? Because he was like, what? I almost came out of trance, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that again.
I see them sometimes, not all of the time. More often than not, it's the angelics, it's the ascended masters that I'll see, and I'll be like, oh, you just, you had somebody join our session. And so half the time it comes out of my mouth because I'm not always expecting it. And then more recently, the past couple of times, it was Master Hilarion, which I had not worked with before. And he showed me this sacred geometry symbol, and then he showed me like he just passed it through the body, and then boom, the client was clear. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This whole time I've been like going, chakra by chakra, which I still do, but just that he came and moved that through the body, and that was it. And I'm like, okay, feel free to come back to any other session at this point.
That's given me like a major sort of bing, because this with what I'm doing with the blueprints, because it's like like the sacred geometry, and it's the divine coding. You just boop, and then it's
I've looked for that symbol. I can't find it. It's not part of any other shapes that I've known. It's it's different and I don't know how to explain it. And I've tried to look up like Master Hilarion symbols, nothing. And it's like I don't even know how to describe the thing. Like
a lot of these symbols are quite, they're quite sacred and quite important. So sometimes, like, we won't know these symbols until later on. One time I was sort of doing a clearing, and like a remote clearing, and I sort of like remote view while I do the remote clearing. And as I was doing that, my team, angelic team, was showing me the coding, the divine coding, the architecture of all of the different chakras of this person and their body. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was seeing it all in detail, all of this information that I'd never sort of heard before. And like, you see the I guess the Indian symbols for the chakras, but they were different. They weren't like the symbols that we know. Like the root chakra was just a triangle, and each like successive shape like got more and more complicated and had more and more sides. And they were showing me this, and then they were like, this is the blueprint of each and every one of their chakras.
Yeah.
Look at this. And this particular chakra here, it's a little bit off, so we're just going to tweak that that blueprint, that coding a little. And then they showed me how they were doing it. So I think maybe this is the future of where entity release might be going.
Or just energy healing as a whole, because I know in some of my sessions I was kind of told like I would show you this better, because I asked, I was like, how do I see this better? How do I work with this? And I was essentially told, it's like seeing 4 or 5D. You're not going to be able to grasp it. And I was like, oh, okay. Thanks for calling me the slow kid on the bus. Like, wow.
Yeah. Like from those higher levels, you can see all of this other like, you can see the bones of the matrix, let's just say. And you can say, oh, there's something wrong over there, there's a crack over there, let's go fix it. Whereas before at this sort of level, you're like, oh, it just looks fine. They can see so much more. It's just so interesting.
And so you've got a new kind of package that's coming out that includes that divine blueprint work. And then I think you're coupling in the galactic astrology with that.
I'm doing I'll just give it out like a freebie, an astrology freebie, not necessarily the galactic astrology, but like it's a freebie sort of promotion. So I always love to give out like little freebies with people's things. So that's just a little gift, but it's like a 3-step sort of program. Like it's like one session that's for those people who really want the divine blueprint, and they want like the entity release with like that blueprint coding that we just talked about. And the second session is going to be like a very interesting session where they have a look at some of their like one of their shadow lifetimes, the lifetimes where they were maybe a negative being or a negative person. And this is going to help to I've had this happen before, and it really helped me to be like a much better like healer or like intuitive person to have that experience. Like it protected me on another level to be able to understand my reptilian lifetimes, let's just say. It enabled me to embody that protection, because if you just like love and light only, you come into this and you're not very protected, to be honest. Like you don't see that other side of you. You don't like that other side of you, or that other side of your multidimensional self. And so you have this weak point, you have this chink in your armor. So the second stage is going to be like this shadow work sort of session, and go into, because I do the Between Lives as well, where you go into the other side and then you meet your guides and angels. That sort of finishes up with this. And then the third session is all about that, so you go from correcting the blue, like, a clearing essentially, and past life regression session to a shadow work sort of session, and then come back up into the higher frequencies. so like a high frequency session. So you see all of, like, you know, the full aspect of who you are, from the darkness to the light. And what I wanted to achieve with this is a real unity sort of consciousness, an understanding of unity consciousness that goes way further than a regular session would. So then you understand that unity consciousnness within yourself. You can see the light aspect, you can see the dark aspect, and you can see that they come together to make you. So it's going to be like, it's very alchemical and sort of transformative, you know, the two becoming the one, and then that communication with the higher self and with, you know, God intelligence, source intelligence at the end of that.
And I think that's the more balanced way to do it, because then they're already fully clear. So there's not going to be any interference. You're not going to have to worry about misinterpreting things. Then they really get like the whole picture, and then it gets integrated so much better.
Yeah. So it's like, it's very magical and very alchemical. So it's like all of these different parts just, you know, melding into one. But that's what the soul is. And the alchemy is us realizing that we're made up of all of these different parts. We're like the lead turning into gold.
And so, for those who are interested in learning more about all of this process and how to work with you, how would you like them to connect or to learn more?
So you can go to my website, which is just up the corner here, or you can click on my Facebook as well, is Kitesh Quantum Healing. Yeah, that's my website.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep you. Thank you so much for being super generous with your time, with sharing all of the insights that you've shared today. Is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with before we head on out into a relaxing evening?
I guess everybody at this moment is probably going through some turbulent sort of waters now intuitively, but just remember that it is all for the highest good of all. Like, it's like I can sort of recognize that, you know, I came in for this. And if we can remember like the times before we came into a body and we saw all that was going to happen on the earth, and we recognize back to those times when we came into a body and we agreed to see all of this and be part of all of this massive awakening. And from that perspective, then you can really understand, okay, you know, this is game time. This is why I'm here.
Yeah.
Just to
Thank you.
reconnect with that.
Yes. It is a whole experience, and it's really, really profound and changing. Thank you so much for sharing tonight and for being so available. And I will add on to the show notes over the next couple of days so that people know where to find your YouTube and all of your good information, so that if they feel called, they want to have that experience, they know how to do it. But thank you so much for being a great guest.
Thank you so much.
All right, Soulful Seekers, I'm going to add in all the information that I can so you can work with Elizabeth. I've had wonderful sessions with her and have had some really astounding, amazing things come through. I know that you will too. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay well, but most of all, stay inspired. Bye for now.